As a leader in the grief space, I've cared for and supported families and communities for over 20 years. This show dives into the journey and experiences all of us will most certainly encounter in life. Welcome to the Guiding Grief podcast, where we discuss grief and explore opportunities for growth and connection. I'm your host, Nicholas Welzenbach, and this is Guiding Grief on KCAT TV. Welcome back to Guiding Grief, everyone. We are so excited to have Laura Nanada here from Senior Helpers today. She is a community relations manager, and we're starting a new 4-part series called Talking About Tomorrow. And all 4 guests will be associated with caring for our loved ones, not necessarily everyone that's in the elderly space, but people that need care beyond tomorrow. So please just tune in, dive in, and hear some experts guiding us into the world of the unknown that's usually, unfortunately, riddled with grief and times of uncertainty. So thank you so much, Laura, for being on with us today. How are you this morning?
I'm doing well. Thank you. Thank you, Nicholas.
First podcast?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, we will make sure that we lend all of this time for you to share how Senior Helpers and how you are an advocate for your community and for Senior Helpers, and making sure that we merge those things together so the community knows that they have an advocate for them. We had talked earlier about life's little changes, right? And, my parents need care, but I don't want care, and how they're stubborn. Can you kind of dive into where you meet families in that experience of, I don't believe I need this, and you've got family saying you absolutely do, and how can you come in and help support in that situation in an early stages?
Right. So life's little changes. I mean, sometimes life little changes come from health crises. Some come from just getting older, and then your family's realizing, I don't really like that mom's home by herself all the time and spending way too much time in that chair. She's
Right.
not moving. She seems fine mentally, but she's kind of alone and not really reaching out and having other friendships.
Yeah, without companionship. And then sometimes you get, if you're the individual in your family that's living longer, right, than your friends, there's more time alone. And then
you're dealing with all the grief of that loss and change.
Right.
Life's little changes
Yeah.
all the time.
And in addition to that, you're navigating that, those that might be able to care for immediate family close by. Are they there all the time, right? Can they be there? Because they might be raising their own families, and you want to take care of mom and dad, or a person in your family that's disabled, but there needs to be a gap filled there.
Right. Caregiving is not an easy job by any means. And a lot of families are just not capable. And that means they're either caring for their own careers, their own families, their younger families, and now they're tasked with being a caregiver for their their parents, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, or aunts and uncles, all of those things.
It seems like a natural progression. They raised me, they brought me into this world, they cared for me, and now it's my turn to care for them. It's completely different because it is regressive, right? We saw Benjamin Button, or if you've seen Benjamin Button, it's a phenomenal movie, but we see that, this cradle, sorry from the funeral director, but the cradle to the grave, and we have all these stages in between, but really caring for an adult is much like caring for a child. Mm-hmm. But your children might not have that same bandwidth that you did when that was your sole function at that point.
Right. And if your parents are in need of care, you want to continue with the role of being their child, not their caregiver.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And
that shift is a big one, because a lot of times the parent is very proud.
Yeah, I can imagine
Generation
where
of
that
very proud people.
Yeah.
And they want to continue with that feeling. It kind of keeps them going, and their pride can be a good thing. It can be a bad thing.
Right. Yeah.
Right. So, how do you convince mom that she needs someone around, right? And it's really individualized. Mm-hmm. So let's say mom is a very proud person, is like, I don't need help, I've been doing it, I've raised 5 children by myself,
Yeah.
That kind of thing. and I'm fine. And it's like, you're not fine because I'm not fine, meaning her daughter or her son is not fine, feeling that her needs are changing and they live in a different city. They can't be there as quickly as they could. They're not immediately available because they're dealing with their own families and their own situations, their own health crises, right? So there's a lot of things that are going on. So finding out like what I really enjoy about my job is meeting with families and kind of figuring out that puzzle piece. Like, what makes them tick, right? Just finding what their pain point is. So if I know the pain point of the daughter saying, I can't be available to her, I live far away.
Right.
If something happens, I'd feel better about someone checking in on them. And so
you have to set that up, right? Because if you're away and then there's not someone.
Yes.
To jump in. You don't have a relationship with senior helpers at that point in time. You're a plane right away. You're, an hour's car ride away to getting to your loved one because you don't have a liaison. You don't have an in-between.
No, exactly. And, again, mom will say, I'm fine.
Until they're not, and then they need help, right? We all remember that in the late 90s, right? I've fallen and I can't get up, right? Well, it's not necessarily 911 that needs to be called. It's a lot of the times you mentioned companionship is a huge part of senior helpers.
Right. Because their friendships have changed, their family dynamics have changed. We're different people every day already.
Oh yeah, constant evolution.
Yeah. So sometimes I say, think of it as an assistant. You get to have an assistant. Like, say if they are a parent, or the parent who needs care is someone who really likes to be in charge, right? If I find out that's kind of their power, right?
Right. You need to change approach.
Yeah. You have to say,
understand.
Let's get someone assistant because, like doing all those things that you don't care to do.
Right.
Let's have if you need to send that box to the shredder, let's take care of that for you. And let's send someone who has their, who's qualified to do things, meaning their background, has been checked, that they feel comfortable with the caregiver that's going to be coming in, and then developing a relationship with that person. And what my job is to match a caregiver to the need.
You mentioned that a community that you serve through senior helpers, which relates to the territory and the opportunity to serve the community, included Santa Cruz. And a statistic you shared with me is that 1 out of 2 people in the entirety of Santa Cruz County is over the age of 55.
Yeah.
So
it's huge.
And it doesn't mean that there's not younger people that don't need. I imagine with senior helpers, you specialize in senior care, but there's other individuals that still need care that those same caregivers could facilitate that are younger, but your market is more in the senior space. But it's 1 out of 2.
It's an alarming statistic, and we do care for. We have students who are at the university who are in wheelchairs that use us. Younger people who have other diagnoses that require companion care or assistance. Yeah.
You talked about minimums as it relates to it, and it makes sense. You need to find someone to create a connection, and you're a liaison between the caregiver, you're a liaison between senior helpers, and then sometimes a facility, sometimes just the family home, and you're trying to not just match someone that knows how to help with someone that needs help, but relationally. Right?
Right.
The 2 cats. Can you expand on that? You shared about that earlier.
I said, like clients and caregivers are like cats. They have to get along or it's just not a good time.
Yeah.
And that energy is very important. The calling to be a caregiver is one of the heart. And so having a compassionate caregiver that can read the subtle signs is very important. Having an agency that can be very flexible and adapting to the family's needs, and then knowing everyone in the family that's the decision maker. I mean, sometimes the emergency contacts that I have are like 5, 10. There's so many people involved that want to be a part of the decision. And then sometimes it's not. But ultimately it's creating a comfortable situation for both the client and the caregiver,
Right.
because
Right.
that has to match.
And then the family. So, because sometimes the family needs to make that decision on behalf of the individual, because there's other things. I mean, the gravity of aging, and it's showering, and how many times a week is this going to take place, and toileting, right? It's just, when you talk about pride, it's just something that at some point in time I figured out I could do this for myself, and I've been pulling up my britches and doing this myself my entire since then.
Yeah.
And then it comes full circle, and the reality is that, based on getting up and getting down, those are real troublesome problems that you could find yourself in, and making sure that there's someone to come and assist and take care of those things.
Right.
And but I could see where that impact would be as it relates to even for myself, right? If I
Right.
found myself in that situation, or I'm in a hospital, right, and I
Yeah.
need help because I've had an injury, which I have, you're navigating that relationship, right?
Right. Yeah. I mean, and do you want your daughter to take care of you when you're in a compromised situation? Like, you just don't.
Yeah, yeah.
You just don't. And that's okay. It's just,
It doesn't mean any less of someone's daughter or son if they're not
Yeah.
able to. It allows you to keep that space. I always think about the relationship that we get to have with our parents, right? I'm with an 11 and a 13-year-old. I am definitely their parent right now, and I think they really want me to be their friend. I'm not your friend. I can't be
Yeah.
your friend right now. I hope we get to the point. I'm positive we'll get to the point that we'll be friends at some point. But then you get to be your parent's friend, right? Your life changes. And that transition to potentially having to care for those things, not that it would be beneath the individual,
No.
right?
No.
But
Yeah.
it was just, it just changes that relationship forever.
The
So
dynamics change. Yeah. Yeah. And being there for your family it strengthens your family.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Senior Helpers predominantly helps individuals in their home or in the environment.
Mhm.
So it doesn't mean that you can't live at a local care facility and not also receive help from Senior Helpers. Can you expand on where limitations, opportunities to serve? You have more abilities if you're inside someone's home than in a care facility. Is that right?
Right. So there's a couple of things. So a lot of times people go into assisted living because they need more care. And that could be mentally, physically. And once you're in an assisted living, we can come in as a companion because the staff there is there to provide physical types of care.
Right.
Yeah. But if you're an introvert and you're someone who likes to just sit and read, you're going to end up just kind of feeling isolated. And if
Right.
you're not outspoken, you can be overlooked quite quickly.
Just
Yeah.
anything in the healthcare system
Yeah, oh.
requires advocacy, right?
Yes.
That's the number one thing that anyone will tell you, that if it's cancer, trauma, broken arm, broken leg, or aging,
Mm-hmm.
if you're not advocating, or in this case with a Senior Helper, having a companion advocate for you.
Yeah, it's really important, and especially for families that can't be there, at their side 24/7. And I wouldn't recommend for anyone to be someone's caregiver 24/7. It's just, you need a break.
No, based on my profession, I the truth be told is that more often than not, it's the caregiver that passes before
Yeah.
the individual being cared for, and we don't see that because it is so taxing on you're living your life, but then you're doing this constant work that there's really no tap out button in the caregiver space if you are the family taking out.
Right.
Whereas bringing Senior Helpers in
Yeah,
a couple times a week,
Yeah.
3-4 times a week, you're allowing someone else to give you that reprieve, which helps with longevity.
Right. I mean, you work a job and you're supposed to take your 10-minute break, your lunch break, and clock
Yeah.
out, that kind of thing. But when you're living with someone you're caring for, that's a lot. And what I tell a lot of people, I'm like, well, if we were to get 24/7 care to replace you, it would cost over $1,000 a day. And that's the people, wow, it's like, you're doing a lot of work.
Right.
Give yourself a break. Give yourself an opportunity to go for a walk. get your hair done, go get your nails done, go.
Not listening for that bell in the house. Need something, right?
Yeah, you're constantly on call. And that's not a good quality of life for you, because I can also tell you, I have been to, they have post-acute. So if someone falls, right, you're in a post-acute. That's like a place outside the hospital that helps you get ready to go home.
Rehab.
Well, you have the caregiver, let's say it's the wife, or the wife in this case, and she's been the caregiver, and now her husband's in the post-acute. But now guess who's joining him, because she overdid it.
Right, pushing too hard, and now they're
in the same room, and now they both need care.
Yeah.
And I just tell people with wide circle eyes, just like, I don't want to see you together in a room right now. That's not the kind of room you need. Yeah. Just, I think in this business, I've seen a lot, and I speak from the heart when I say it, just because I have real stories that have affected real people, and I don't want that to happen to them, and I just want them to just get a couple days a week, 4 hours, just take 4 hours for yourself. And I say to them, well, it's already, I'm talking to you and it's noon, so what have you done in 4 hours for yourself? Right. And they're like, wow, I
didn't think about it in that capacity.
Yeah, fast 4 hours, because 4 hours seems like a lot of time.
It goes fast, right?
Yeah.
Well, we are going to take a quick break.
Okay.
And we're going to be back with Laura Nanada, and we're going to continue to have conversations about senior helpers. And what we're going to focus on, you talked a little bit about cost, and I don't want to dive into the cost of all of the things that you do, but really about how those costs are offset in the future. So stay with us. We'll be right back with Laura. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'd like to take an opportunity and pause just to thank our sponsors, Darling Fisher and Los Gatos Memorial Park, celebrating lives one story at a time. As members of the community here in Campbell, San Jose, and Los Gatos, it has been an honor to care for so many of the loved ones of our community, and we are so grateful for your trust. That's why we're supporting this podcast, Guiding Grief, and bringing your community information about how to heal. Welcome back, everybody. We are sitting here with Laura Nanada from Senior Helpers, and we're going to talk on the second half about the world of acronyms as it relates to long-term care, the VA, HA, healthcare assistance, all of the things that you work through every day that are part of your vernacular, but how we can help make that part of someone else's vernacular. In addition to how you help advocate to get the funding for someone to receive this type of care. So what do you want to dive into first? Because I do this about my own business when they all have acronyms and I use those words, my internal vernacular. Mm-hmm. And do you have that when you're talking to clients where you're like, okay, instead of using the acronym, I'm just going to say what it is? Because I think sometimes we get into this assumptive place that if you said LTC, they would go, okay, do I ask right now? Because I don't know what LTC is, which is long-term care, right?
It's not a group back in the 80s,
no,
90s,
no.
Right? Yeah, don't go chasing waterfalls. Yeah. But long-term care insurance is a good thing for people in their 40s or 50s to consider if they are concerned about long-term care when they're older, because they're struggling taking care of their parent, or they see that their parent has had long-term care and it's offsetting a lot of costs, because I mentioned how expensive it can be. But I'm going to take it back to so there's home health. Mm-hmm. Home health is anything, and that's covered by Medicare mostly. So anything medical is home health. And then you have home care, which is non-medical. And that includes ADLs, which is activities of daily living, from bathing, toileting, dressing, those kind of things, and companion care, going to the doctors, giving you rides, those kind of activities. That's home care. And then we talked about long-term care insurance, and that is what home care is covered. It covers home care, and long-term care insurance can also cover when you're in an assisted living, right? And then we talked a little bit about the VA and what is the VA.
Right. The Veterans Affairs assisting, but you have to. Wonderful, because when we were chatting offline, you were sharing how you advocate for that relationship for the family, right? If they call senior helpers and they're looking for a way, and you find out the individual's a veteran, that's a light bulb for you, and you're like, how could I connect you with the right person in the right office here? I think you said it was over by Santana Row. You're like, I know the name of the person, their phone number by heart,
Yes.
and I'm going to send you there, and I'm going to create that relationship so you can get them there, right?
Yeah, like a warm introduction, or
right.
Yeah, just okay. I'm here for you. I'm gonna come up with a solution, regardless if I'm in it or not. I want you to start the process. So if I hear a client is a veteran, or they're a survivor of
it goes both ways.
Yeah. So like there's benefits out there. So why don't you take a look? Why don't you give the local office a call so you can answer those questions right away and start the process. Because even though, let's say, the Veteran Affairs office can fill out all the forms, it's going to take them an hour and a half to fill out the forms. So we might as well have someone at the VA do that process with you.
And then it's up to 3 months to get, or longer, to get those things actually put through. So someone's in need of care, not receiving care, qualified for care, but waiting, right? And you're going to say, hey, I want to put you in a place where this is going to offset those costs, and Senior Helpers is going to provide you access. I think you said you have 70 healthcare professionals that are on the staff of Senior Helpers, right?
Yeah, and more.
Right?
Growing. Yeah. So we're partnered with the VA, so the VA will pay us directly once you are receiving care from the VA.
And then there's another process, local grants. And is that, did you mention those through Medi-Cal?
So you have Medicare, which is, when you turn 65. And then there's Medi-Cal, which is for when you qualify financially for Medi-Cal. And then if you're in a situation where you have a need, the best place to go here in Santa Clara County is called SourceWise, and it will help you with insurance questions. It's run by the local government, so it's not sponsored by Anthem or Kaiser or whatever. It'll just advise you on the next steps. And if you're let's say your wife is in need of immediate care and you cannot provide that to her, and your finances are a bit, sometimes they're
limited.
In flux.
Yes.
Okay,
right.
Yeah, I need to do some things. Or if you're house rich and cash poor, right? Because that is a thing here and everywhere. So you can apply for a grant, and they have grants up to $1,000, and that will help. I mean, every little bit helps, but you have to have someone who's on it and helping you along the way.
And you're checking in with those potential patients, those families, on behalf of Senior Helpers, trying to bring that care to the individuals, which is one, it's a noble thing, right? You similar to my universe, right? We hire for empathy, we train for skill. I imagine a nurse comes with a great deal of skill already, but an empathic one that's ready to hit the ground running when they've arrived and a patient is in need of support. Right?
Yeah, and it's non-medical, so our staff has they are certified as a home care aide, so they go through all the training for that, but they're not a medical professional in any way, shape, or form. But their sense of empathy is heightened. And their call to their work is really wonderful and noble. So aligning a caregiver to a client is a wonderful thing. It's really great to see that happen, because then everyone is all in.
Yeah, you've told me you have to dance around it sometimes when someone says, this is the kind of person I want to have help me. And then you're trying to fit a square peg into a round hole, and you're thinking, well, I don't have that individual. And I know that if we went this way, we might be able to better serve you immediately, versus postponing care based on the fact that you don't have someone that's gender specific or otherwise, based on someone's historical experience.
And it's a process, and I let everyone know that. I go, well, it's kind of like matchmaking where it's like, you're going to meet up with one of our caregivers. If for any reason you don't mesh with them, then we'll send you another. And sometimes they're very specific. Well, I want a young person with me because I have a lot of physical needs, and I think that would be a good fit. And then, or if that's more companion care, a lot of times, our caregivers take vacation too, where things happen. They have other clients they have to tend to. So then they have another caregiver that comes in, and then they're like, wow, I really like Rosa better. She's way better, because I relate better to her. And sometimes you think what you need is what you need, but it's really what you get.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But Senior Helpers focuses on the relationship between yourself, a family, a loved one being cared for, whether it's in a home or in their home. And your focus is just making sure that that's a positive experience. And I know I've known you long enough to know that you're always on call to make sure that those relationships are being fostered, and if it needs to be changed, right? And if we're away, we want someone that's advocating for our mom and dad.
Right. I think that's one thing. Thank you for sharing about that. Is increasing the team, increasing the family, the level of care in the family, because now you have a set of eyes at home that is working in the home, caring for mom or dad, and then they're able to alert the team of changes, because that could be something, as common as I talked about a UTI, like a urinary tract infection. That could just set mom or dad off into this rage and spiral, and they're not able to express themselves on understanding, but a caregiver would recognize those signs and alert our team so we could get that taken care of.
And something that an elderly community is susceptible to, right?
Yeah.
Just based on
activity level.
age and activity level.
Yeah.
That happens, dietary, and then all of a sudden, if you're hospitalized for that, that's next level help.
Oh,
and if
that's
someone's
next
away,
level.
right, yeah. I know my own folks, I'd call them and they'd be like, oh, we're fine.
We're fine.
And they're healthy and happy and wonderful. But at some point in time, they might not be. And do they have that within them, pride level, to say, I'm not okay and I need additional help?
So if we're really talking about tomorrow, it's starting to have realer conversations earlier. So when these situations do arise, and they're going to be ones you don't even dream up of.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? So
yeah.
When you have that connection with your parents, no holds barred, just kind of being real, and you're showing your vulnerability, just saying, hey, I'm doing a lot right now and I really love you, and make sure that is always expressed. And I want to make sure we provide the best care for this time in your life, just as you've provided the best care you could for me.
Yeah.
Right? And a lot of times that heartstring is the thing that ties people to really be, how are you doing?
Yeah, we have that in our universe when we're trying to, family comes in, and it's usually, mom and dad, and they're like, yeah, we need to make sure that we plan funeral, cemetery, burial, want to do all that other stuff. And then they go back, right? Their biggest objection is when they know this, hey, I'm going to go back and I'm going to talk to my kids about this. I'm like, you're not going to die in their universe. They don't want to talk about it. Their parents' mortality, right? I've had that conversation with my folks, and I do what I do for a living, and they're still going to live forever, right?
Yeah.
Which is not true. It's one of one.
Yeah.
And that needs to happen, because if I don't know whether it's burial or cremation, right? Those are certainties. Needing help at some point in your life is almost a certainty.
It is.
With how long we are privileged to live in this day and age. Gosh, who was I? It was from 1500. It was Neil deGrasse Tyson. I was watching him the other day. And it was between 1500 and 1860. The life expectancy was, max was 35.
Yeah.
And over that period of time, it went up 5 years.
Yeah.
Right. 15 to 18, almost 1900. Now, we're living so much longer, right? and I shared it was a organic lifestyle before then, right? We were outdoors, we were working
Right.
hard. There are so many other things in science and medicine that are helping to keep us alive longer. And with that, I know at 44, sometimes it hurts when I wake up, right? And then that gets compounded when you get older, and you need something like a Senior Helpers to come in. I'm hoping I'm going to stave that off for as long as possible by being active today.
Yeah, it
But it
starts
doesn't,
first.
I
Yeah.
can't, right?
Yeah.
There's things that are the unforeseen for us so that we can be prepared. But you mentioned, so back to the long-term care. Long-term care, I think in my mind when I hear that, I think of, I need long-term care. When you say it, is that an acronym for an extensive link of care, or is that an acronym specific to the insurance?
It's an acronym extensive to the insurance. So it's
Right.
it's an insurance plan that a lot of people may or may not know they have. So that is a good conversation. Ask your parents, did you have that? You know,
Do you have long-term care insurance? Because, you know.
Oh, I'm sure I do. It's
Oh, I'm
somewhere
sure.
in the pile.
Yeah.
It's
But
let's
just call your agent.
why don't you take a look at that before you need it? Because a lot of times they need 90 days before you have it, and not, again, 3 months, right? So you've just bought into that policy. You're spending hundreds of dollars all of this time, right? And then now you need it, and then they're like, well, you have to pay out of pocket now for the first 90 days.
Oh my goodness.
So it's
Yeah,
it's
huge
insurance.
offset.
So
Yeah.
and you have to still jump through all the
Yeah.
hoops. So working with an agency that helps you along the way can also be a very nice thing, because we have a long-term care specialist on our team. So like insurance, as it does, things get denied the first time. Second time, oh, we need it dotted with a heart. We need it. We need all these things, or there has to be this. They didn't check this box. Or sometimes you do when they say that you don't receive it. So there's just someone who's that drip of water to make sure that it is taken care of.
Right.
But
Advocacy.
in a good way. Yeah, advocacy again. Increasing your team.
Well, I am so grateful to be able to talk to it. The last thing I want to cover is, how have you found yourself in this space, and why do you keep doing it?
Okay. So I kind of tell people my story. I came cross country. I graduated from the University of Massachusetts at Amherst to be a teacher. And a friend of mine was an engineer, and so I drove cross country with them, and I found a job in a day over here. I didn't have a car, I had a bike, and I'm like, wow, I found a teaching job. And my parents back home said, wow, California, it's kind of expensive. And I'm like, oh, no, it'll be fine. So I worked in the education space for a while, and then I got a teaching job, and I was like, wow, the cost of housing and what I'm getting paid annually is not adding up, and I can do math okay. So I went into high tech for a bit and rode that wave, and was with a construction company with my husband at the time, and so we grew that and raised our family together, and that was really fun. And then I looked at our finances again and said, wow, healthcare is so expensive. Why don't I work for them? So I did. I worked for Kaiser and Anthem selling Medicare, and that's how I ended up in the senior space. And I really enjoyed it, because then I could come up with creative ideas like a teacher to explain things, and also do fun things like I would do watercolor events, and it was really fun. And they were better behaved most times. Yeah. So
So it filled the cup, and it's
yeah, I was always able to serve my community is the main point. It was like, as a teacher, I'm still serving my community, because that's what I really love to do.
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I am so grateful, Laura, for you being on Guiding Grief and launching our Talking About Tomorrow series.
Mm-hmm.
And Senior Helpers is in our community, and they're in your community, and they're willing and able to advocate for, support, guide, and make sure that you have the bevy of resources at your fingertips to ensure that you can care for your family if you're not there, or if you need a break. Not if you need a break, when you need a break.
You need a break.
You need a break. Mm-hmm. So please reach out to your local senior helpers advocate, in this case here in our community, it is Laura Nanada. We are so grateful for you tuning in to Guiding Grief, and we wish you well. Take care of yourself, take care of others, and love on your community.
Thank you. Thank you, Nicholas.
Thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of the Guiding Grief podcast. I'm your host, Nicholas Welzenbach. Grief is a profound experience, but you're not alone. Let's continue to navigate this journey together. If you have any thoughts, questions, or topics you'd like us to explore, reach out. Until next time, be kind to yourself, find strength in your resilience, and always hold on to hope. Before we end, I'd like to give a quick thank you to KCAT TV for producing our show. Please remember, be good to one another.